Red Polly,
Dusty,
blue poncho,
Tupac,
street,
hey, Wilson Hoosier, hey, Elvis,
Blue 58,
All right, everyone, welcome to Health Matters. Guess what? We're on episode 21, divisional wrap-up, and now we're down to the conference championships. 1 day, 4 teams, 2 go home, 2 go on to the show. Super important, but I'll tell you what, again and again, health matters. It mattered this past week in the divisionals, and it's going to matter in the conference championships. So here we go. Brandon, take it away. What can we expect coming up, and how did we do last weekend with all of our health?
Yeah, I'll tell you what an exciting weekend. A lot of good games. We had blowout week the week before, but this week it was tight, going to the wire every time. The first game we'll look at is the Texans versus the Ravens. Tyler, tell us about this game. I didn't get to see much of it.
Yeah, honestly, out of all the games, this one had probably the biggest spread difference here. You know, Baltimore's defense looks fantastic right now. They're playing great. They held the Texans to just 10 points. They had Dameon Pierce fumble. And on the other side, that Baltimore offense, man, they are cooking right now. Lamar Jackson, 2 touchdowns. He also had 100 yards rushing himself. So, this is something that Kansas City is really going to have to prepare for. We all know how elusive Lamar Jackson is, but this is something that, they're going to have a spy on him the entire time if they want to stop this offense right now.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, they didn't have many injuries in this game either. I think Baltimore running back Gus Edwards had a little hand issue, but, they're saying it's all fine. He should be good to go.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to affect Gus heading into this game. Had a good game, no problem, I don't think.
Yeah, and then the Texans, man, that offensive weakness really showed up. Them missing those powerhouses. They only have the 10 points, so that's going to be a fun one too.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at that. I mean, look at our bus scores from the divisional, and this is where health really, really matters. The offensive line banged up score, again, 100 is almost perfect. Very few teams ever get that, even at the beginning of the season. 54.9 O-line for the Texans. I mean, that's almost as low as you can go, and that's what the biggest problem was for them. You can predict a loss just almost on that.
Yeah, going against that Ravens D-line at 100.
That delta and that differential is unbelievable, but that matters. Again, check it out at thepredictors.com. We got the numbers there. You can check it out, and you can do some good stuff with that and know who's going to win these games.
And guys, the Texans were missing 2 big wide receivers too. Obviously, Tank Dell has been out, and then Noah Brown. So that is not a great offensive line because of injuries, and you're missing 2 big targets there. That does not give CJ Stroud much time to throw the ball and have open wide receivers. So it was an uphill battle for them from the beginning.
Yeah,
sure.
bad score also. They got an 84 on the bus score, Tyler, on the wide receivers. That's a double whammy. O-line can't hold them. They got receivers that can't get separation.
Yeah. They have a bright future, though, so we'll keep an eye out for them next year.
Yeah, no question. But they could have been there. They could have. I mean, and Texans fans. I mean, they were close. If they had a few key players, but those cluster players, the cluster injuries of wide receiver, cluster injury to the O-line, it's a problem. And their D-line wasn't much better. Yeah. So this was unfortunately predicted for the Texans. Baltimore is looking really good, though, or the O-line and D-line didn't take any hits last weekend, right? I mean, we didn't have any problems. And they're good. Like 194. Yeah. I mean, Baltimore is clearly the favorite just based on our scores alone.
For sure. Now looking at the Chiefs-Bills, the other AFC game, that on the bus score was a huge separation. Ryan, where were we at on that?
Yeah, the Chiefs had a bus score going into the game of 83.4 with the Bills. They were nearly 20 points under the Chiefs at 64.6. Just a huge difference. Doc, when you see that big of a difference on the bus score, what's going through your head?
Chiefs win. I mean, it's
the teams are so good at this level. In January is where Health Matters. We've been talking about it all year at the Predictors. A little bit wild in the beginning. When you get down to the final teams, and even the weekend before, wild card, things like that, things are particularly wild because there's a lot in the league this year where, the football was solid. It was good, but not great. And so we had to get really down to the final few weekends here for this health metric really to show, but Kansas City was better in every domain in health and their player status versus Buffalo. No way Buffalo wins this game based on our stats. But they were close. I mean, they hung in there, and they played with a lot of grit. They played at home, and I mean, it was close.
Tyler, the Chiefs, they got 2 injuries we got to watch out for. Safety Mike Edwards in concussion protocol, and guard Joe Thuney with a pec injury. They're calling it a strain. I've seen doubtful, I've seen questionable, I've seen who knows. What are you thinking, Tyler?
Yeah, here's the thing. We've talked about it, right? Offensive line, defensive line, the trenches. That's what can make or break a team going into the game. So this is something that we're definitely going to have to keep a big eye on. If you remember back when Kansas City played Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, big injury to Eric Fisher. They end up losing that game to Tampa Bay. This is something definitely to watch. And on that Baltimore side, think about who they might have coming back. Marlon Humphrey could be coming back this game. Mark Andrews, who might be coming back from that fibula fracture and ankle injury. They have some guys returning. So this is going to be interesting with these injuries. Who's coming back? Who's out? Could make or break who wins this game and heads on to the ship.
Yeah, looking ahead, we've kind of have some early bus scores already out, and the Chiefs are kind of leading just due to some of those skill positions over the Ravens, but that O-line, D-line still
that's
the main
Ravens'
focus.
favor. Yeah, I mean, we'll get these scores titrated, finalized, hour to hour, minute to minute on the predictors.com. Check them out, but they're gonna dial up. This is gonna be a great matchup. I mean, obviously Baltimore is gonna have the favor, certainly for that O-line, D-line, but that's what happened to Kansas City. That's why they lost Eric Fisher, but it was more than that. It was cluster injuries. Eric Fisher and 1 or 2 of his buddies, they were out, and that O-line was decimated for the Chiefs. That's what happened.
Yeah, Boston Ryan, what's your prediction on this game?
I mean, obviously I'm going with the Ravens. I don't want the Chiefs to win, especially as a Pats fan. I'm not a big fan of the Chiefs, so.
But you're a fan of the Ravens as a Pats fan?
Not a fan of the Ravens, but I'd rather
Boston
the
Ryan,
Ravens
it's got to
over
be
the
hard.
Chiefs.
I don't know. Probably both. Neither, right?
Yeah, I mean, neither. But at the same time, Cross Klemko was one of the assistant athletic trainers for the Patriots. Now on the Ravens, I'm going to be pulling for him.
All right.
Tyler, give us your final thoughts on the AFC Championship.
And I think it's Kansas City versus the world, so I'll go with the Ravens as well. I can't not be a fan of Lamar Jackson. I think he's taken a ton of criticism over the past few years of whether or not he should even be at that quarterback position, which I think he's proved time and time again that he should. Obviously, we've talked about it on this show a million times with the injuries that he's had in his career up to this point and how some of those have kept the Ravens away from, this point in the season a few times, not just with Lamar, but the whole team. I think they finally have the full package this year. As we said, the injuries are down. I'm going with the Ravens. I'm going with Lamar. I think we're done with the outside stuff for Kansas City and all their extracurricular activities, and the Ravens head on to Las Vegas.
Doc, what about you?
Yeah, ZJ, speaking of extracurricular activities, what do you have on the over-under for Taylor Swift video appearances?
I don't even
You're in the game.
Talk about Taylor Swift anymore.
How many?
250.
Oh, man.
I don't know. There's some numbers out there, to be honest. I saw 6.
I'm sure
8,
you could actually
10,
bet on it, would be my
shot.
guess. I'm sure it's an actual.
Oh, yeah, no,
betting
100%.
line.
Now add in the brother. Now add in Jason's antics along with Swifty, and you got some
shirt
crazy
on or shirt off to start the game. What are you going to do? I mean,
how many
I
beers?
just want to be in the box for an hour.
Yeah, so O-line, D-lines predominates for me. Ravens take this by 4 points.
We're giving the actual number. I love it.
All right.
All right, let's move over to the fun division, UFC guys. Let's go over to my division in the NFC now. The Packers 49ers. The 49ers, I mean, obviously the healthiest team in the league all year. They looked great.
They're just a wagon.
But there was a scare there, I mean, they needed the fourth quarter. They needed Purdy to step up towards the end, even though McCaffrey was playing his butt off.
They got a big scare with Debo. I mean, come on. It's they're a few players away from not having the team they need to go forward. Yeah, it's pretty close.
What are you hearing on Debo, Tyler?
Well, I heard that it's not a fracture, so that's obviously fantastic news. This is the same shoulder that he has had a fracture in the past, and that's why everyone is so worried about it. But with no fracture, that means that he can focus this week on swelling reduction, pain reduction. If he needs an injection or something before the game, maybe some padding, always a possibility there. Listen, this is the conference championship. If he can be out on that field, I think Debo will. We know he's missed some time, but they've always been for bigger injuries. He's tried to play through things. They use him a ton. He is a big part of that offense. So I think that as long as he can make it on that field and there is nothing that is going to diminish his chances of going to the Super Bowl if they win this game, then he will be out there.
Yeah, one of the big impact players for the Packers we've been talking about all year is Jair Alexander. He's had about 4th re-injury of that ankle now, Doc. I mean, is that something they're going to operate on after this year? Just looking forward for their team. He's a big player for them.
Yeah, with that many injuries, you're looking at the outer ligaments, maybe even a sprain to the syndesmosis, so potentially a combination of low, high ankle. We'll have to see. But sometimes you can get the ligaments reconstructed, get them repaired, use internal brace constructs with anchors, suture tapes, fiber tapes to help stabilize this, and or use a tight rope here, which is shown actually right here, how you fix that and stabilize that ankle joint. So someone that's going through ankle after ankle after ankle, showing up on the injury report, it's absolutely something you want to think about stabilizing this so you can just have a better rehab in the offseason.
Yeah, that's something. The Packers, they're finally figuring it out. So they're going to be a scary team to watch next year as well.
Well, I mean, speaking of the Packers, look at our bus scores for the Packers. Look at that defensive line. I mean, they were there. They put a lot of pressure on those guys, even in a rain game. They showed up. The rain probably threw off a little bit of that and how the overall line performed, what they did versus passing and running and everything else. But Green Bay's offensive line, not as good. Love was under a lot of pressure, a lot of things going on. San Fran D showed up, and you could see that again and again in their overall defense, where they got a really good score, but that O line of Green Bay banged up.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to watch in the offseason. Let's move on to the other game real quick, and then we'll preview that championship. We had the Bucs and the Lions. I've been on the Lions all year, guys. Been calling them. They're going to do it. They've been banged up all year, but they're prevail every time. Tyler, break down that game for us.
Guys, that was a fantastic game to watch. I enjoyed it. I think everyone did. I think a lot of people were rooting for the Lions just because of their history. But the Bucs themselves, listen, Baker Mayfield did something that I don't think anyone thought that he would do with that team. They're going to be looking at a lot of offseason stuff with Mike Evans and things like that, who they can keep, who they can't.
But Baker.
Yeah, you got it. But hey, that game was what you'd think a Lions game and versus Bucs game would be. It was gritty. It was exactly what Dan Campbell wanted. And they pulled it out at the end. Bucs had a chance there. I don't know if you guys saw too that they could have even possibly called a timeout because they need the ball down a little bit too early, try to force a 48-yard field goal. They had a chance there. I know it looks like they lost by 8 or whatever, and the score honestly looks way worse than the game was, and would have even worse if Bucs hadn't put that last one in the pay dirt there. But hey, that was a good game by both teams, and the Lions earned their right to be where they're about to be here in the conference championship.
What was that 2-point conversion about, Tyler?
Well, the data says to go for 2 because you get 2 chances to do it. If you get it, you win. All you got to do is score after it. If you miss the extra point, then it's still a tie. So I see what they were trying to do. Teams have been doing it a little bit more lately. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but teams have been looking at a lot more at the quote unquote data that they're getting on whether or not to go for it on 4th and 1s. It used to just be punt. Now it's a lot of teams are trying to go for it. You're seeing a little bit of a switch in the NFL. It's a little bit more offensive heavy. Who would have thought? Just like most sports, it's going to who can score more points, making it a little bit harder on the defense. But I get what they're doing, and it didn't work that time. They still would have had to get the 2-point conversion, but hey, they may have enforced overtime. So, but Lions pulled it out.
Definitely. Well, going into this 49ers matchup, the Lions got some banged up guys from the game, which is unfortunate. They had Lions, their tight end Brock Wright. He left the game in a hard cast. He's going to be out. And then guard Jonah Jackson. They're rumored he had a meniscus cleanup on Monday, so I'm saying no play. What do you say, Doc?
I'll clean up on Monday. That's almost a no-go. I'd be extremely shocked if that guy's on the field. So, you're looking at an O-line that's not as good as San Francisco's for the Lions already to start with on the banged-up score, and now you're getting some cluster injuries. I don't see him playing. Maybe for the Super Bowl. That's 3 weeks. And like I think you said, hedging their bets to get him back for the Super Bowl, but they got to win, obviously. And I think the offensive line is going to be pretty banged up. We're going to see a tough score for the Lions with these cluster injuries. But again, check the predictors out. We'll have those scores out here for you momentarily.
Well, Doc.
Yeah, let's get Boston Ryan. Give me your opinion on that. Or Tyler, what you want to chime in?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say with offensive line, Frank Ragnow, if you remember him in the game, he's had a sprained knee and sprained ankle, their center, and he played through it, played fantastic.
Hey,
he's looking like he's
came
going to
back.
play.
Yeah, it was gritty.
Yeah, and he's supposed to play
He's going to be
again,
sore,
but
though.
It's going to be a hard game for him, I think, with both those injuries again.
Yeah.
So two guys banged up. Ryan, what's going on? You're going 49ers all the way, huh?
The 49ers are just killing the game this year. They're unreal. They're just the absolute wagon. They got they're firing on all cylinders this season. And also for the banged up score, they're beating the Lions in almost every single category. The only two categories for the Lions that's higher than the Niners, they have a healthier D line and they have a healthier receiving core. But overall, I can't see the Lions pulling this off. As much as I kind of want the Lions to win, get to that first Super Bowl, get their first Super Bowl win. I really think the Niners can pull this game out.
They've played hurt all year though, so they know how to do it. But Tyler, I don't know, is the healthy 49er team the one?
Yeah, I think the 49ers will take it. And honestly, not just the injuries, obviously that's a massive part to why 49ers are at home. The Lions have been pulling these games out, but they've been the home team, right? So they've had the fans behind them the whole time. Now they're going into enemy territory. They got to go to San Francisco. It's not a short flight. I mean, I know they've had time. They, do all what they have to do to get ready for this game. But I just think the 49ers have a good system. It works for them. They have amazing players, obviously, with CMC and Debo and Ayuk and all these guys. They're great defense. So I got to go with the 49ers.
Yeah, CMC just doesn't seem to miss a beat. Had 2 more touchdowns last week.
He's going to be out there, but CMC's been banged up, and he'll roll out of a game if it's not right. So we're gonna have to watch that. He's had a good season, but he's popped out a few times, popped to the injury tent, popped out of the game. So we're gonna have to watch that. Again, the 49ers are 1 or 2 injuries away from having the Lions make this a super tight, gritty contest, and otherwise the 49ers take this. But 1 or 2 injuries early in the first quarter, I'm telling you, Lions can take this.
Awesome. Yeah, it's an exciting weekend and great conference championship matchups to watch for. Let's hit some other storylines in the NFL. The coaching carousel continues. The Falcons. I mean, what are we doing here, Tyler? They're taking Belly or they're going with Vrabel?
The Falcons have just been I feel like they're interviewing everyone around the sun. Everyone they can get their hands on, they're interviewing. They're bringing them all back for second interviews. They're keeping it real hush-hush. That is a good landing spot for either, to be honest. Both of those are both coaches. Obviously, Bill's resume speaks for itself. Vrabel with what he did with the Titans, with Tannehill at quarterback, and being able to have those winning seasons that he did there. The Falcons would be lucky to have either one of those coaches. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Vrabel, interestingly enough. I think because of the same reasons we talked about last week with you get some question marks with Bill on how long he's going to be coaching. And do you want to be going back through this again after a few years? And listen, I could be completely wrong. I mean, that is just a hunch that I wouldn't want to be dealing with this a couple of years later again. But I think Vrabel is, he's the younger guy. He's going to be coaching for a long time. He can do some great stuff with Pitts and Robinson there. And, they got a good team there. It's just getting the right people in.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of the other NFL teams are kind of agreeing with you because I feel like there's only been the Falcons that have tried to go after Bill Belichick. No, I haven't heard of Belichick interviewing with any other teams interested in him, and it's got to be because of his age. They don't think he's going to be around for too long, and they don't want to go through that hiring process again. It's terrible.
I mean, alternatively, you bring someone like that in, and they bring a good coaching tree, at least internally, maybe not externally when they go external, but you cultivate, you develop, you learn from the GOAT, you learn from the master on, his aspects of the game, and then you adapt the game because it's evolved around Bill in a way. I'm not, it's interesting. I'm not sure Bill's going to have a job next fall. I thought he was a couple weeks ago and one of the hottest potential hires, but it really depends how the owners look at this. And if they look at it as, longevity and him being the guy forever, I mean, that's certainly not going to happen. But if it's developing an internal team and building a system, that's a different way to look at it.
And he definitely doesn't have a job in media.
I would love to see him in media.
Actually, it'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Seeing him on College Game Day with Pat McAfee, that was amazing. He showed some personality. I mean, Doc, Tyler, all three of us have gotten to see the other side of Bill Belichick, and
not on camera. I can't. He's great. We'll talk for 3 hours.
Dude, that guy doesn't care, which is the best part, which would make him great for media. He would just say whatever he wants. Him and Saban, I've heard it before. They should do a show together and just talk, and they don't care. They've already had their careers.
Yeah.
Just say what they want.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, hire you as producer, Tyler. Saban Belichick, SB.
And then we got Harbaugh news. How the Chargers looking to get him down there for $15 to $18 million a year.
Wow.
Is what I'm hearing. And he's going to bring his defensive coordinator, I think, Jesse Minter. So that's interesting. I was with Harbaugh at the 49ers, and all the guy said is he brought a college-style system in from a practice and video and meeting standpoint, and it was long days for those NFL guys that are used to these shorter days. So it worked for a while they were winning, and then when the ship turned, he lost a lot of guys. So does he change his style this time around?
We'll have to see. The league's changing. There's a lot of rules. How much time you can meet, how long you can be in the building. The PA that just went through a new contract, and have to see. They're going to have to adapt to the rules.
Tyler, what do you think about Harbaugh in San Diego, LA area?
Yeah, I think he'll go. Personally, he's done what he wanted to in college football. I think Michigan is set up. They could even bring Sharon Moore, who was the interim coach while Harbaugh was suspended there. So they're set up. And, I think he's probably learned from his last NFL experience. He probably would change a few things. And he's a player's coach. He's more of a player's coach. That's another reason, going back to the Belichick stuff, a lot of teams look like they're going more towards the player coaches now with, what these players are getting paid and what they're able to do and things like that. It's not this full control type situation anymore on a lot of these teams and a lot of these places. So I think Harbaugh fits that. I think he's ready for a change. And if they can get the right deal in place pay-wise, then I don't see him not moving on from Michigan and coming back to the NFL.
Gotcha. Well, guys, it's been a fun show. Doc, take us out.
Yeah, I know a lot of coaching things going on. Most exciting weekend of football coming up. I mean, it's all compact Sunday afternoon. Get ready. It's going to be amazing. Check us out at thepredictors.com because those health scores really matter. Our numbers are spot on, and you can win. You can gamble. You can bet on this. Just check us out. Always got to put your own personal spin on it, but these numbers can help you get in the game and know what's going to happen in these teams. So good luck out there. Have a great weekend. And remember, health matters.
Go!